waiting for more information. And at this point of time, I'm told that we have Mr. Umar Barghouti, who's of course joining us live. Mr. Barghouti is a prominent Palestinian human rights activist, and he's joining us on this broadcast on WION. Mr. Barghouti, what we are witnessing, perhaps it's still not happened, and it's still a pretty tenuous situation. But what can be confirmed at this point of time is that 12 Thai nationals have been allowed to walk free by Hamas. Now, this is not a part of the deal in exchange for captives for the Palestinian prisoners, but they've been allowed to walk free on a humanitarian basis. Tell us, how crucial is this moment in bringing an end to this conflict?
Well, this 4-day respite, this 4-day humanitarian truce is important for our people in Gaza. 2.3 million Palestinians have been subjected for 50 days to Israel's genocidal war, armed, funded, and enabled by the United States, the EU, the UK, Canada, and others. So it's extremely important, after all the massive destruction, denial of food, water, fuel, and medicine, destruction of hospitals, schools, universities, and infrastructure. It is very important for our people to have this respite, to have a breather. But this will not bring about justice, obviously. This is a first step. We need to keep pushing to achieve a permanent ceasefire. And then after that, we'll have to hold Israel accountable for every single crime it has committed for 50 days in this genocidal war on our people.
Now, at this point of time, we are looking at these images. These are from the Rafah border crossing. Now, as a part of this deal, Israel has agreed to release about 150 Palestinians. Most of them are women and children, less than the age of 18, who've been languishing in Israeli prisons. But what is also important to highlight at this point of time is, before the beginning of this conflict, before the 7th of October, there were more than 5,000 Palestinians who were languishing in Israeli prisons. And since the 7th of October, Israel has gone on and arrested more than 3,000 Palestinians. So in total, at this point of time, according to estimates, more than 8,000 Palestinian prisoners are in Israeli prisons. So how serious is Israel about releasing some of these Palestinian prisoners who've been languishing in Israeli prisons, and many of them happen to be young children?
It's absolutely not serious. Israel has been forced, and the US has been forced to accept even this 4-day truce because of mounting international pressure and because Israel has not achieved its military objectives on the ground. So failure on the ground and massive international solidarity pressure. We've seen enormous demonstrations from Jakarta to Kerala, from Morocco to Iraq, in the United States, in London, Cape Town, across the world. We've seen massive demonstrations that have shown the United States and Israel and their European allies that most of humanity does not accept this televised genocide. Indeed, as you've said, Israel has kept thousands of Palestinian prisoners and is every day arresting arbitrarily women, children, young men for absolutely no charge whatsoever. So this arbitrary arrest, which is taking people hostage, basically. So this double standard of calling Israel's captives, civilian captives, as hostages, which they are, and they should be released, yet ignoring the thousands of Palestinian civilians held without charge by Israel or with flimsy charges by Israel, as international human rights organizations have always documented. My point is, Israel and its US and European allies will not give up anything without pressure. We've done a lot of pressure so far. We need to do even much more to stop this genocide.
Right, and at this point of time, we're also talking a bit about the humanitarian aid that is being allowed to now enter into the Gaza Strip. According to reports, there'll be about 200 trucks filled with aid, which is food, medicines and supplies for the people in Gaza, which will be allowed to enter. A lot of people are saying that this is nothing more than a drop in the ocean. Give us a sense of what the situation is like in the Gaza Strip, which has been under a blockade and a siege for 49 long days.
Well, let's just take even Oxfam, not exactly a very radical organization, has said Israel is using starvation as a weapon of war. And that's an exact quote. Israel is thirsting and starving 2.3 million people for 50 days and not providing fuel to do water desalination and to do proper sewage treatment and so on. So Israel is intentionally causing disease, causing starvation and thirst among 2.3 million. In fact, a senior Israeli general just 2 days ago said, in fact, the spread of epidemics would be very welcome because it will bring about Israel's victory. Imagine this fascist tendency prevailing in Israeli society today across the board, from the top leadership, military, political, media, cultural, academic leadership, to the simplest person in the street, repeating the same genocidal language, dehumanizing Palestinians. So absolutely, you are right. This will continue, this dehumanization and this blockade will continue. Those 200 trucks are less than 40% of the daily trucks needed to enter Gaza to satisfy the minimum requirements of 2.3 million Palestinians. So indeed, it's not enough. After 50 days of starving the population, denying hospitals even the basic medical supplies and even oxygen for incubators. Some Palestinian babies in incubators died because of lack of oxygen. This is murder. This is not just a dying of natural reasons.
Now, at this point of time, Mr. Barghouti, there are reports that some Palestinians, because they saw that this humanitarian pause was in place since this morning, they tried to make their way back into northern Gaza where their homes are situated. And according to what has been reported within the Israeli media itself, at least about 2 Palestinians have been shot dead, while 11 others are said to be injured because they were just trying to go back to their homes in northern Gaza. What does this mean for the Palestinian people who have been driven out from their homes in the northern part of Gaza?
In fact, the reports we're seeing is tens of thousands of Palestinians are marching back north. Imagine just the will of those people, our people in Gaza. It's just amazing. After this devastating genocide, they're marching back to check their homes and neighborhoods, to check on their dead ones that they couldn't find any news about. So people have basic human needs that they're trying to satisfy. And indeed, Israel has violated the truce by shooting at some of those Palestinians, committing yet more crimes. But it's allowed to do so by a complicit United States administration, by complicit European, Canadian, Australian governments. They're part and parcel of this genocide. They are partners in crime, no less. And every single Palestinian death, every single home destroyed is also on their hands, not just perpetrated by Israel.